Hey there, I'm Mark, in affiliation with Spectrum Pulse. And I don't know about you, but it feels like we're between two storms. And it's Billboard Breakdown. I don't remember. So I've mentioned this in passing before, but one of the benefits of this show and the Hot 100 in general dropping a little later compared to the speed of discourse online is that you can observe how things cool down or heat up with the benefit of time. Everything can be hyped to the moon and back on social media for about 15 minutes, if you're lucky. But what actually lands and sticks around, that's a larger conversation, including the actions of the public or the industry as a whole. And I want to address a big part of that from the jump right now, because the big story of the Hot 100 is not exactly what charted, although believe me, it's important. It's that as of May 1st, 2024, TikTok and UMG struck a new licensing agreement that resets the TikTok promo markets back to normal and will likely be a major sea change over the next couple of weeks as Universal acts try to rebuild their momentum, or get a little boost from the momentum that's already been developed on TikTok. We'll have to see. Now, this has not yet taken effect to the charts as of yet. So when we look at the top 10 as of this moment, you're not seeing the biggest impact. And that was predicted that Fortnite by Taylor Swift and Post Malone would comfortably hold the number one, but won't be for long. And that's insane when you consider this is a Taylor Swift song with massive radio backing already, but it's tumbled off the top in streaming and sales. And given the insanity of the past week, I don't see this reclaiming the spotlight as nearly as next week. And the reason for that, honestly, for me, this feels like it's coming out of nowhere. A brand new number 2, Million Dollar Baby by Tommy Richman. Full disclosure, I did not have the slightest clue who this guy was, and we'll get more into the song later on, but given that he's largely independent, seems to have blown up on TikTok and rode good sales and frankly insane streaming to the top, it's gonna be in the mix for number 1 next week, although likely not getting the top spot. But he also won't be the only one. A bar song, Tipsy by Shabuzi, has surged into the top 10 at number 3 with massive sales momentum and plenty of streaming to boot. I'm thrilled to see this actually have the momentum to become a proper hit. Let's see how it rides those waves. But then we got a track that only is going to benefit from more TikTok crossover support. Espresso by Sabrina Carpenter back to number 4, riding a lot of radio and streaming, although curiously sales are running behind. That's interesting to me. Then we got Beautiful Things by Benson Boone, unable to get beyond number 5, where he's got great sales and the radio support is there, but it's getting shakier near the top and the streaming just is not coming back the way it needs to. That's also telling. Now compare this to Lose Control by Teddy Swims at number 6, which might be reaching its peak on top of the radio, and sales are still pretty good, but I put money on this going into the downswing quite soon. Then we got Too Sweet by Hozier at number 7, and I'm not sure what to think about this song that actually did hit the number 1. Streaming and sales have rebounded, but it needs to make up a lot of radio traction to remain competitive. And even if you can say he's already won by getting that top spot, I would like to see this have a more sustained run. It's a really good song. But then we got the rebound of Like That by Future, Metro Boomin, and featuring Kendrick Lamar to number 8. And let's make this clear, this song has beaten every expectation when it comes to a diss record, including getting real radio promo. The fact that amidst all the chaos, it has not yet been thrown to the wayside, it speaks to a cultural penetration that might spell problems to this beef at large down the road. It's probably going to be a conversation for next week. Finally, we got some fading of the Taylor Swift album bomb as expected, with I Can Do It With a Broken Heart and Down Bad appears to be tested as the upcoming singles at number 9 and number 10, even though they're predominantly here on streaming. Now this naturally takes us to our losers and our dropouts, of which there are a few that feel significant in the latter category, specifically around Nicki Minaj. Everybody with Lil Uzi Vert is likely clinching its year-end list spot, and FTCU possibly just falling short after its boost last week, alongside those that fell well short like Praise Ya in the Moonlight by YG Marley, Soak City Do It by 310 Baby, and Selfish by Justin Timberlake. But our losers are a lot more straightforward, outside the continued losses for Cry by Benson Boone at 95, and Let's Go by Key Glock at 100. It's all Taylor Swift here. Let's run down from the top. My Boy only breaks his favorite toys at 16, But Daddy I Love Him at 18, Florida with Florence and the Machine at 20, The Tortured Poets Department at 21, Guilty as Sin at 22, The Smallest Man Who Ever Lived at 30, Fresh Out the Slammer at 35, Love of My Life at 36, The Alchemy at 37, I Can Fix Him, No Really I Can at 40, So High School at 47, I'm Gonna Get You Back at 49, The Black Dog at 51, Clara Bow at 52, The Prophecy at 56, Thank You Amy at 59, How Did It End at 62, The Albatross at 64, I Hate It Here at 66, Chloe or Sam or Sophia or Marcus at 69, I Look at People's Windows at 71, The Bolter at 75, Peter at 78, Cassandra at 82, and The Manuscript at 99. But now we've got a pretty significant set of returns and gains, albeit possibly fewer the latter than you might expect, given that more of it is just what has the strength to rebound and fill in the gaps higher in the charts, especially as the vast majority of Taylor Swift's album bomb just stuck around for a second week. Now at the very bottom of the Hot 100, we did see Dirt Cheap by Cody Johnson claw back to 94, We Ride by Brian Martin at 93, and Bandit by Don Toliver at 92. But the majority of our gains are in the top half of the Hot 100, with spare exceptions like Halfway to Hell by Jelly Roll, Wild Ones by Jesse Murph and Jelly Roll at 57, Wildflowers and Wild Horses by Lainey Wilson at 55, Made for Me by Money Long at 54, and Act 2 Day to Date by Forbats featuring Drake. Speaking of the worst possible timing to be tied to Drake right now, yeesh. Now from there, it's not exactly consistent in terms of genre or label and all the rebounds, so excluding the songs in the top 10 that I have already mentioned, let's work from the bottom up. Where It Ends by Bailey Zimmerman rising to 50, Good Luck Babe by Chappell Roan nicely rebounding to 48, Red Rum by 21 Savage at 46, Never Lose Me by Flo Milli at 45, Gotta Only by Floyd Menor and Chris MJ at 44, Austin by Dash at 43, Carnival by Kanye West, Ty Dolla $ign, Rich the Kid and Playboy Cardi at 42, and Whatever She Wants by Bryson Tiller at 41. Then there's End of Beginning by Dijo at 39, Yeah Glow and Wanna Be with Megan Thee Stallion by Glorilla at 39 and 38 respectively, Agora Hills by Doja Cat at 33, Get It Sexy by Sexy Red at 32, and Type Shit by Future, Metro Boomin, Travis Scott, and Playboy Cardi at 31. Finally, Feather by Sabrina Carpenter at 29, Cruel Summer by Taylor Swift at 28, Greedy by Tate McRae at 27, I Like the Way You Kiss Me by Artemis at 26, I Remember Everything by Zach Bryan and Casey Musgraves at 24, Sixth Season by Noah Kahan at 23, We Can't Be Friends, Wait for Your Love by Ariana Grande at 19, Lovin' on Me by Jack Harlow at 15, and Saturn by SZA at number 12. Now, funnily enough, it all leads to a shockingly light week of new arrivals for once. I mean, I might as well savor it for a moment before the insanity of next week. So alright, let's start off with number 87, Belong Together by Mark Ambor. When the sun won't shine, you and me belong together all the time. Alright, look, if there is one thing that the whole TikTok UMG feud proved, it's not how easy it is for new independent acts to find some fluky crossover success on TikTok with diminished competition, but that the massive mediocre at best white boy singer-songwriters at a more saturated market would elbow them out, and maybe we should be grateful for it. Hence, at least for this week, we got Mark Ambor. He's a New York City singer-songwriter signed to an independent. He released 2 EPs that didn't do much of anything, and then he went viral on TikTok with this new song, and oh boy, we got a guy who sounds like a slightly older Shawn Mendes making stomp clap pop folk and a lightweight love song that's going to be shipped to a commercial post-haste. Surely, we all needed more of this. Now, if all that sounds dismissive, it is, but it's mostly because this is a very sanitized, lightweight song that's been dime a dozen for a decade now. And while the chirpy guitars are a pretty nice touch, I don't get much in the way of unique personality or flair to this. It's not terrible by any means, but I can't see it having enough character to stick around, and it could get annoying in record time. That's all. Number 73, Okay by JT.
She fucking with me, is this bitch okay? He say he ain't fucking around, I look at him like okay. I used to be down bad, but now a bitch okay.
You know, for as much cultural presence as it feels like the City Girls have, they actually haven't charted as much as you might think, with this being JT's first solo charting single, her only other one being with Summer Walker 3 years ago. But the City Girls formula has had some longevity amongst the women in rap. This could be promising. And look, I don't know, I get the suspicion that this song should be a lot better than it is, because I actually think the production has some flair with the synth horns and the trap percussion that's a little flimsy, but it's at least competently mastered in order to drive that melody. But JT's dead-eyed flexing sounds perpetually disinterested, and I can't say her rapping is all that impressive either beyond the stock self-aggrandizing and a passing shot at Cardi B, and quite frankly, that reminds me of a rapper I'd much rather listen to and enjoy. Again, I'm not calling it bad. In the right environment, I can imagine this working. It is competent. But I also can imagine it living up to its title. And no further. Number 63, Adivino by Myke Towers and Bad Bunny. I've been trying to keep an eye on what crossover traction Bad Bunny has had within the past year or so, because while he did get that album bomb late last year, I'm not sure he's enjoying the stability he saw much earlier in the 2020s. So maybe this team up with Myke Towers for that next project makes some degree of sense. And that project's title is translated as the Black Panther. But okay, don't expect any socio-political elements here, where the two men are spending the song scolding one of their exes for potentially coming back into their lives with a stay in your lane message, or she belongs to the streets, not to their hearts. I mean, it's absolutely sleazy, and you know what, Bad Bunny at least commits to the sour angst of it all, where it's implied that she dumped him and now she wants another shot that he knows is a bad idea to indulge. But Myke Towers seems perfectly fine just fucking her again, and it creates this weird dissonance at the core of the song, and that might well be the feel with the creaking, badly tuned synths that open up the track before the bass swamps out everything, and we get a number of admittedly textured percussion change-ups that just don't stick to stock reggaeton or Latin trap. I can see Tiny's influence here. I don't know, I'm just not sure there's enough that really sticks to me. It feels discordant in itself, perhaps not even intentionally, so I can't say it's good. But do you want to hear a song that was very clearly well constructed to do a lot? Number 11, Euphoria by Kendrick Lamar.
About no reaper, nigga, I'm reaping what I sow, okay? Got a Benjamin and a Jackson all in my house, like I'm Joe, okay? Hellcat, met his homeboys in them types LA solo, okay? Everybody wanna be demon till they get chipped by your throwaway.
So the weird thing about coming to Euphoria today is that I've got the context of everything else that happened that week between this and now. I know where the beef goes, I know the ugly swerves that it took, and I'm very aware of the fact that this has already hit the streets in a way that demands a certain amount of responsibility. Beyond the fact that I actually live in Toronto and I've got my ear to the ground enough to know more than I will reveal, a lot of people have gotten real irresponsible with how they've contextualized the entertainment of this battle. And it's hard for me to blame them for that. Those people are only hearing the songs. They don't know what's only implied behind the scenes. If you know, you know. Which once again highlights just how many folks are ill-equipped to cover beef in rap music in any variety. And on some level, I include myself. It's not like I'm in the streets like that all the way. But that being established, Euphoria dropped while I was writing Billboard Breakdown last week, and more time has only confirmed that this might be one of the best diss records of all this year. A dizzying tour de force of flips and production and flow and wordplay that might not be saying all that much that's new about Drake, but once presented with this much expressive flair and layers, it highlights just how many folks were salivating for rap with these layers and double entendres and not doubling it down. The audience isn't stupid. It's gonna challenge for the number one next week and, well, not get it, but it's gonna be close. Because I love how Kendrick slow walks the opening with the gentle keys and the guitars in order to set up how much he's choreographed this beef in his head, seemingly predicting how Drake will respond even before he does. Made all the more potent because Drake fell into some of the exact traps of misreading Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, which, again, we will have to get to next week, with the warning set up as the horns blare and Kendrick Lamar continues to goad Drake into more of a response. once. I actually don't love how long it takes for Kendrick to get to some of his sharper bars on the second verse, but once he gets going, it's impressive. The YNW Melly line, drawing the continuity to Pusha T, the explicit DMX callback, which becomes a fantastic light kind of hook, and highlighting he likes Drake in the R&B mold, just not tough. He doesn't buy it. I've actually come around to the line, "We hate the bitches you fuck because they confuse themselves with real women." Both sides of this beef have a distressingly bad habit of treating women like pawns in this rap, and it's kind of gross when I still think that Megan Thee Stallion also has one of the best diss records of 2024 with Hiss, and she beat Kendrick to the punch with many of these same implications. I'm gonna give her that credit. But for as much as Kendrick is trying to elbow Drake out of the culture, and even if I might somewhat agree, Drake has albums you can argue could be considered classics. I think it's a weaker jab, but then the beat switches up again for something bassy, and it's even more intense. It's probably got the most cutting bars here. I like that Kendrick reestablishes the West Coast affiliations and that TDE stuck behind him. A wedge that I honestly thought Drake would be able to press, but Kendrick flips in order to attack Drake's industry affiliations, including that cease and desist for Like That, which has been proven. I also like how Kendrick tries to revoke Drake's N-word pass in the most exasperated tone imaginable, and the sexy red lines are fucking hilarious. I'm standing by that. Now, the line about raising a son, yeah, again, Drake, this is what happens when you mention family in your diss. I think for Kendrick it's a low blow, but it's in bounds. Honestly, the Toronto accented Crody bars referring to certain city-level gang activity around Chinatown, I think that's much messier. We're not going into that. And for what it's worth, I do think Kendrick Lamar actually made a mistake mixing up Joel Osteen with Haley Joel Osment, even if the bar is funny as hell, as well as any jabs at using AI, which thankfully feels far removed from the rest of this beef. And I could go further. There's a lot of layered double meanings to the song. But what Euphoria does is actually a lot simpler for me. It's a diss record only Kendrick Lamar could make. It's endlessly quotable, well-produced, frequently hilarious, and proving that he was well prepared to engage on a historic level. Even with the context of everything that is to come, if this sticks around, I'll be thrilled. Fantastic song. And number 2, Million Dollar Baby by Tommy Richman. And to end this all off, with the song and artist I had never heard of before this week. So, okay, for those of you who don't know, and I include myself, Tommy Richman's from Virginia. He's been active releasing singles and EPs since the late 2010s. He had an album in 2022, and apparently he's signed underneath Brent Faiyaz. Not exactly a great co-sign in my books, but I've heard this guy's sound being described as a blur of southern rap, R&B, and Mac DeMarco influence. At least it's interesting. And here, well, I'm not sure I hear Mac DeMarco so much as the rubbery synths playing off the sandy knock of the groove. It's a little ramshackle. It honestly reminds me more of Nourished by Time, just with way less kooky atmosphere and a weaker hook, and vocals that stick more in a breathy 80s falsetto. Where I think the comparison makes a lot more sense might be the writing. Tommy Richman's trying to pick up this girl, and he's flexing that he could make it and win her over in this city, but he's got no tangible success, and he seems to be stewing in his own frustrated, hapless missteps. A little bit of a loser, with the implication that they may have had something before, but I'm not sure how much any of that matters. This is about that homegrown, rough-edge, organic swagger and vibe, even if it's not really connecting or working. In a way, it reminds me a little of Steve Lacy, a bit in the timbre and attitude, and maybe that's why it went viral. But even with my issues with that song, given the abbreviated length of this, I'm just not sure there's enough here for it to stick more deeply. Certainly not matching up to Nourished by Time. I mean, it's not precisely bad, but look, if Kendrick thoroughly beats him next week, I'm not going to complain. But yeah, that was our week. And best and worst fall out real fast here. It should not be a surprise. Euphoria by Kendrick Lamar is getting the best. Adivino by Myke Towers and Bad Bunny with the worst. Next week, though, yikes. It's gonna get messy, folks. Stay tuned for that. But until then, I'm Mark. You're watching Billboard Breakdown, affiliated with Spectrum Pulse. And I'll see you next time.